Okay, before we get to Survivor Series, we have to get through Hell in a Cell, so that's going to be our next topic. The pay-per-view isn't fully developed yet. Maybe it's because they only had 2 damn weeks to book the show, but I digress. For now, we're definitely going to get into that. But first, we're going to do a rundown of the card so far and give our thoughts on what we expect to happen and what we want to see. First match, we're going to discuss Beth Phoenix versus Kelly Kelly for the Divas Championship.
Well, it took in Beth 2 times. I don't know how true the reports were, but, Dave Meltzer, he's pretty credible. He said that Beth was supposed to win in her hometown, but they thought Kelly was over. The thing I don't understand is if you thought she was over, what difference does it make if she's going to drop the belt in 2 weeks? Beth obviously isn't going to lose 3 times in a row unless they have a vendetta against her. So I don't see what the point was keeping it on her for 2 weeks just because she was over, I mean, I've already lost hope in Beth. She's lost. I mean, Kelly is really small, They really played it up that Beth was going to dominate her, but she's kind of lost credibility. If she wins now, it's kind of like, I don't really care anymore.
Well, yeah, definitely. I've lost all interest in this feud. I said this all last week, that even if she wins here, they're pulling the trigger too late. The matches are still going to be 2-1 to Kelly Kelly, so it doesn't really feel to me as though she's dominant. They can't really, for me, build that back up anyway. They're probably going to have her win here. I'll pick her to win, but I don't really care, and I don't think that it's going to help anything.
All of my hopes with the Divas of Destruction have been destroyed, along with Beth and Natalia's credibility. I just don't buy them as strong forces anymore after all of the losses. And I noticed that the announcers, they did try to repair some of the damage on Raw after the tag match, talking about how Beth was on a roll and how she redeemed herself. Not really, because like my co-host just said, she is behind. And she did get a win over Kelly Kelly on the last episode of Raw, but she just traded that for the loss that she got the week before then. So in the big picture, she's still batting from behind. And I guess I'll pick Beth for the 3rd time, I think. I think I picked her to win the last 2 matches, and that was not too successful, but I'll go with her for the 3rd time. But even if it does happen this time, I'm going to care as much as I would if it had happened 2 weeks ago or even at SummerSlam. Next up, Sheamus versus Christian.
For me, this is the one match that's actually been built up a little bit, which is kind of good. Nice to see Christian's doing something other than getting squashed by Randy Orton. Not squashed, but losing to Randy Orton. This should be a pretty good match. I'm actually kind of looking forward to see how these guys work a match. I'm going to pick Christian just because he needs to win a match for a change, but I wouldn't doubt the WWE putting Sheamus over.
Yeah, I'm a huge Christian mark, but I don't think that he's going to win this Sunday, to be honest, because Sheamus has been built up like this big, huge baby face. It wouldn't make sense for him to lose to a twig like Christian. Christian's he's been a weasel. I've called his gimmick out a little bit before in one of my videos, but he has a weasel gimmick now. He's always begging for one more match. It's almost like he's a pathetic bum. You know what I mean? Like one of those people who are begging you on the streets for a couple of quarters. You know what I mean? It's kind of sad, but no, a win for him, it would kind of help him, but then again, not really. I mean, what's done has been done. So I'm going to pick Sheamus to win. He needs it a little bit more.
I'm big fans of both these guys, and I've enjoyed the build-up so far, and I'm looking forward to the match. I think unquestionably Sheamus wins this one. He's been on a roll lately, and I don't think it's going to stop just yet, especially to Christian, because I basically agree with everything that my co-host said. He's a weasel. He's been trying to weasel his way into matches, weasel his way out of matches, and, I don't see him stopping this role that Sheamus has been on.
It's a shame, too, because Christian's really talented. He's 37. Retiring on that note would really suck.
Well, I mean, he has gotten 2 world championship reigns. As short as the first one was, it still counts. It's still in the record books.
True. Very true, though. I mean, I'd rather be a champion, even if it were for 5 minutes then, because a lot of people can't even say they made it to the WWE. So.
Next up, Hell in a Cell match for the World Heavyweight Championship, Randy Orton versus Mark Henry.
I'm going to go with Mark. There's no way in the world you would build up Mark Henry to be this unstoppable force, and then just to have him lose to someone that already lost the last time. And that's the problem for 2-week builds, you know. There's like the predictability. I'm usually not one to complain about it, but it's a little bit too predictable because obviously this is Hell in a Cell. This is big bad Mark Henry against Randy Orton. You know, who do you think's going to win? After 2 weeks, if Randy couldn't get it done before, he's not going to do it now. I mean, some people may call him Super Randy, but, you know, I don't think he's going to beat Mark Henry. Mark Henry, though, is like turned me into a believer. I didn't think he was that good at first, but now he's like, you know, and he's putting on some decent matches, too. It's not like they're cringeworthy. They aren't 5-star classics, but they're decent enough. They're getting across that he's a big, strong powerhouse, and I hope that he can keep it until Survivor Series.
I'd hope he keep it past Survivor Series, but for me, Mark Henry's going to win this match. I think he should crush Randy Orton. Probably see some good spots with the cage, hope to get that involved, and I would like to see a Randy Orton injury angle here.
I 100% agree with CM Punk Mark, a.k.a. Charlie. I want Henry to win this match. Not only that, I want him to obliterate Randy Orton.
You guys are marks. You guys are marks.
From limb. To the point where he needs to take some time off, storyline-wise, of course.
What a mark.
Hold on a minute. Wait a minute. Look at it like this. I look at all of the destruction Mark Henry has caused and the damage he did to Orton at Night of Champions. If he can do that in a regular match, imagine what he can do in a Hell in a Cell.
And on top of that, I don't think Mark Henry's title reign can work as well if Randy Orton doesn't take some time off and get out of the main event picture and sell the fact that Mark Henry can beat anybody, even one of the WWE's Golden Boys.
You know what? You're right, because now that I think about it, though, I mean, why would Sheamus get this huge push? He hasn't lost since, like, June or July or something. So, I mean, it doesn't make sense, but at the same time, it's just Randy Orton. You think they're going to let him go for a month? It wouldn't matter if the man lost his legs. He did still have him out there doing RKOs on one leg. So, I don't think they're going to cap him out. I mean, it would be kind of cool seeing Mark put him out and Sheamus is the one to save the day, but you know, there's not much you can do in Hell in a Cell. I mean, it's obvious we're not going to see blood. I'm not a crazy man, you know. I kind of don't like when I see them bleed, but you know, there's not much that they can do inside of Hell in a Cell under the PG format. I'm not blaming it, but you can't really do much, you know.
But the thing is, the fact that Randy Orton can't miss time is exactly the problem with the WWE, and I think that there is a lot that you can do with the Hell in a Cell because there is a chain-link fence around it. There are weapons under the ring all the time. There's stuff you can do with it. The fact that Mark Henry's taking people like the Big Show and Kane out with just a steel chair is kind of the thing you can look at and say, if you can do that with a steel chair, what can you do with a giant cage around the ring?
True. I mean, if they're going to grind his face into that chain-link fence, you know, he's not going to bleed. I mean, it probably won't have the same effect. I'm not saying I want him to bleed, especially not a legitimate concussion like Cody Rhodes. But, I mean, I see the point. The only way it's going to work, though, is if he, like, throws him out of the cage. Like, maybe we get some action outside of the ring, outside of the cage, you know, like what he did to Big Show in the steel cage.
As far as the whole bleeding thing you guys are talking about, I think there's a way that Mark Henry can – well, there's definitely a way that he can whoop Randy Orton's ass without making him bleed and make it very destructive. But I want to know, what's this whole notion that Randy Orton can't take time off? Because, I mean, just look at the ratings for SmackDown. Like, they aren't all that impressive. WWE, they need to stop, like, overinflating some guy's worth. Like, Randy Orton, I do think he's a great superstar, great all-around. But since he made the jump over to SmackDown, it's not like it's done much for the bottom line. And if we're talking about, you know, who SmackDown needs right now, when Mark Henry won the World Championship, the very next episode of SmackDown, it jumped by 600,000 viewers. So there you go. And as far as I'm concerned, I think everybody would benefit from Randy taking some time off. It would give him some time to reset. It allows Henry to continue this dominant streak. And then, like you guys were just talking about, Sheamus, he could step up in that top face position on SmackDown. I think the couple of matches with the non-pin finishes with Sheamus and Mark Henry, they've proved that they can go out there and put on entertaining matches together. And Sheamus, He's gained a ton of steam and popularity, so I say it's definitely worth testing out. I mean, you don't have to have Randy Orton on the sidelines for months, but let's just see how things go. Give it a test.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, Sheamus is the one guy in this Mark Henry build-up that can legitimately say that Mark Henry has never actually taken him out. He's taken him out for that night, but Sheamus has always gotten back up, and that's one thing he has over every single one of Mark Henry's opponents so far, other than Randy Orton, but that's still going on. So that's the one thing he has, that Mark Henry's actually never pinned him and has yet to actually taken him out of action.
Okay, we're going to go on to the next match. The triple threat match inside the Hell in a Cell for the WWE Championship, CM Punk versus John Cena versus Alberto Del Rio.
Well, as miserable as a loss that was for Del Rio at the last pay-per-view, I mean, I'm going to go with Meltzer's report saying that they only did it for ratings. I think that Del Rio is going to pick up back the belt again, despite the fact there's always been a streak of people losing if they're on top at the go-home show. But, any credibility that Del Rio had before, it's the same thing with Beth. If she wins now, it doesn't really mean anything before, because with Del Rio, I liked his reign in the beginning, despite the fact he beat up an injured Rey Mysterio. He was getting clean wins, not like he was cheating like the past heels that we were seeing. He was doing a really good job. I think he beat John Morrison, he beat Sin Cara clean, and Rey Mysterio. So it's not like this guy was cheating his way. He was doing a good job, but after tapping out, it's even if he lost, he didn't have to tap out. And that's the thing with the WWE and John Cena. I'm not trying to hate on John Cena. I think he's great for the company, especially the demographic they're trying to reach. But if the guy isn't John Cena, he's not going to go anywhere. You just can't beat John Cena anymore. And if Alberto Del Rio does it now, it doesn't mean anything. He was tapping out with a little girl the other day.
Well, yeah.
A horrible way to lose.
They definitely killed Del Rio's momentum as a dominant heel. They do this so much where they have a dominant heel, and then they kill it, and then they realize, oh crap, we might have killed it, and then they try to do it. They try to build it back up like they did with Del Rio being the one standing after Raw this Monday night. They did that with Randy Orton a few years ago too. They kind of killed his little, dominant streak, and then they tried to build it back. It just never happened. I haven't done it this year. I didn't do it at Night of Champions. I'm not betting against WWE's Golden Boy. I'm taking John Cena. I don't think it's a secret who I'm rooting for in this match. It never is, but I'm still going for John Cena.
As far as the build-up for the match goes, it was good, but it didn't get me hyped and pumped up like a Hell in a Cell match should. They had Cena go out there try to give a final sales pitch, but something just does not feel right about this. Maybe it's because they have pay-per-views 2 damn weeks apart. Like, I don't care what anybody says. Like, they tried to give it a last effort on this episode of Raw with Cena going out there giving that sales pitch and Alberto Del Rio looking very dominant at the end of the show. But there's no way in hell that you can naturally build up a pay-per-view in 2 weeks. It's just not possible. I expect this to be a good match with Cena retaining. I'm not betting against Cena either. But I just can't get on board with this pay-per-view because I refuse to believe that the status of the Hell in a Cell match has fallen so low where something like this would be acceptable. And I'm not accepting it at all.
It was in a freaking dark match after Raw. 5-man Hell in a Cell. It's a shame. Hell in a Cell used to be my favorite match concept, my favorite match of all time. The thing that got me into wrestling a lot was the 6-man Hell in a Cell. And watching that match and going back to what we have now, only been 2 weeks and people are like, oh, your career will be ended in here. It sure doesn't seem like it. I mean, John Cena was having a ball inside the cell. It doesn't seem like he was afraid of it. Only 2 weeks. Hell in a Cell used to be a thing where we hate each other. We've had all these matches. I've traded wins with you. There's only one way. Yeah, months. Months. There's only one way we can end this. We have to have a Hell in a Cell match. Now it's so unnatural, And a 3-man Hell in a Cell. I mean, if they could make 6 men work, maybe they can do 3, but at the same time, I'm not convinced. CM Punk has done a great job in hardcore matches, but, with 3 men, especially John Cena, I'm not saying he's a bad wrestler by any means, but when John Cena does hardcore matches, we tend to get, he's getting beaten up, he comes back, and then gets beat up again, and then he wins the match, I'm not too excited for it, but I'm going to choose Del Rio.
I'm not excited for this show a lot. They had no time to build it up, but that's definitely the thing about Hell in a Cell matches. I remember one of my favorite Hell in a Cell matches was Undertaker and Brock Lesnar from 2002, and basically the feud went that Undertaker kept trying to get shots at the WWE title, and Lesnar would always, DQ, or it would be a no finish, and you had Undertaker throwing Lesnar into the Unforgiven, Titantron, and then Lesnar actually attacked Undertaker on SmackDown and broke his hand with a fire extinguisher or something like that. And then you just had Stephanie McMahon turn the corner, and she announced that Undertaker was going to be cleared to wrestle at No Mercy, and she took the liberty of making the stipulation. And the way she said it was so perfect. She goes, "Hell in a Cell." And it was so awesome, and it was such like a mark-out moment for me. And I was so excited for the match, and that's the kind of build-up you need. You need a bitter rivalry. You need the Triple H Shawn Michaels, you need the Undertaker versus Mankind. Bitter rivalries have lasted a long time that people can actually get behind and actually feel like they actually want to be in there and they actually want to beat each other up inside this match.
And this is what they've done with this pay-per-view. They've put themselves in a position where the pay-per-view, I don't think this show is going to get that good of a buy rate. Like, it'll probably be one of the lowest of the year. And also, they've ruined the legacy. They've tarnished the legacy of the Hell in a Cell match. Like, I don't know if they think it's at a point where you can just say, this is going to be a Hell in a Cell match, and everybody is just going to be jumping and having a parade in the streets so excited to see it. Because if that's what they're thinking, then not at all. Because they've ruined the legacy of the Hell in a Cell, especially when you got it where the pay-per-view was only 2 weeks after the last one. Then you have these ready-made matches, Hell in a Cell matches, so you know that it's going to be a Hell in a Cell match. No surprise in it being announced. And I'm just pissed off. I am. I'm like, it really, like, it's like crazy to me. And they really expect people to buy this.
I understand, I mean, I'm not trying to be an attitude error, Mark, but the thing that was so perfect about my favorite match was everyone in that cell hated each other. Even the people outside of the cell hated each other. We had Paul Heyman, JR bickering on the commentary team. We had Rikishi. At that point, thought he ran over Stone Cold. Stone Cold and The Rock already don't even like each other. Undertaker doesn't like Triple H. Triple H doesn't like Undertaker. It was so amazing, And then now we have, I don't like you. Let's have a Hell in a Cell match. You know what I mean? That's the same feeling I got from the Triple H CM Punk feud. These guys were about to sing Kumbaya, saying, I respect you. And these guys were about to have a no DQ match, I don't have feeling anymore for these characters. I want them to hate each other. Back when, even though I thought wrestling was real when I was 9 years old, I had a good reason to feel that way because these guys, it was like they wanted to kill each other, Now it's like, I respect you, man. I want to have the best match in the world with you. I just don't get that feeling anymore.
Definitely. They don't do a good job building, and it doesn't help that they have these booked Hell in a Cell matches where everybody knows it's coming. And a lot of the times, you have Randy Orton and Sheamus in there last year. They just don't feel like these guys actually hate each other to the point that they want to have like one of the probably the most barbaric match that WWE has to offer. And I don't want to steal his catchphrase again, but I'm going to do it. Are you fucking serious?